As part of graduate and professoriate life, the letter R gets a lot of play. We talk about research and revise and resubmit. But we spent very little time talking about the importance of the taboo R. I'm talking about rest. So if you are new to Office Hours, this channel is all about surviving and thriving in academia from the perspective of a first-gen, formally undocumented scholar who's on a journey to become an assistant professor. Today we talk about the importance of starting graduate school with a rest mindset. If you are considering applying to graduate school in the near future, or perhaps you are already in a graduate program, you need to enter the graduate school phase or your next semester with a mindset prepared to protect your rest in your multi-year journey to get your title of doctor. Welcome to Office Hours.
This is Office Hours with Juan Manuel, creating an academia without walls so you can thrive on your journey.
I entered my humanities program not really considering the importance of rest, which really set me up for a difficult time when you take into consideration the amount of work that we need to do. So I was taking 3 to 4 seminars per semester, participating in 3 working groups each year, serving on departmental committees because BIPOC folk are needed there. I was organizing events on and off campus. I was building inter-community collaborations. I was mentoring first-generation students without any compensation. So this was on top of the work that I did as a first-generation formally undocumented cousin, sibling, grandson, child, and friend. So these roles required me to spend some time checking in on my sobrinos, sobrinas, nieces and nephews to see how they were navigating life as brown kids in schools and making sure that they were not getting tracked down horrible paths. Helping mixed status families and friends navigate the immigration gauntlet, helping parents with legal and financial forms, helping siblings fill out resumes, or even strategizing with my siblings and parents about how to help my Spanish-speaking grandmother navigate another gauntlet in the US, the medical system. All services that go unpaid and unrecognized. So don't get me wrong, I loved the exhilarating demands of academic life, and also I do the service for my family and friends out of my love for them, and I find it rewarding. I love the late night hours of writing, the lively afternoon discussions over coffee, meeting with undergrads to help them on their young journey, and I was determined to always figure out, the endless perfect drive or perfect plan for that ideal conference/vacation combinations to places like India, Chile, and Serbia. Yet throughout my time in graduate school, I found myself constantly going through times of boom and bust, from exhilaration to exhaustion. I was working 7 days a week to keep up with course, service, and family demands. These were even challenges for a person who loves to organize things every day and loves consistency and daily writing goals with actionable, smart, reachable plans, and who loves color coordinating their schedule because it actually, for me, produces some results that I want to see. But yet, all of this was not enough to help me maintain my consistent mental, physical, and emotional well-being the first year. I would look forward to the school breaks with desperation. I couldn't wait for reading week to have to be out of seminar so that I could focus on those seminar papers. And if I'm honest, I really envied my friends who had non-academic careers. At the start of the second year of my 6-year graduate journey, my partner challenged me to take an entire day off each week to help me recover. At first, I detested the idea. I found it appalling that they would suggest such a thing. I mean, did they not know that there was not enough time in the week to get everything done? That's what the weekends are for. The weekends are there to help you catch up the work that you didn't do the other 5 days. I dismissed the proposal initially because I felt like they did not know what they were talking about. They didn't understand the demands of an academic career. Still, I begrudgingly accepted the challenge, and I told myself that I would take 24 hours for rest away from my laptop and my phone. Anything that might set off some thoughts about work. This was brutally difficult. That first year, I spent most, if not all of the day, thinking about how this whole challenge was pointless. That first year, I could spend myself saying, oh, I could be doing better things with my time. And this was all while I was strolling these lush trails in the middle of these redwood groves in Northern California. I was so entrenched in this productivity mindset that I failed to see all of this lush scenery around me. And although I was not completely sold on the idea, I decided to keep going with the challenge a second year. And the second year, something changed. I found myself only thinking about work 3/4 of the day. It was so rewarding. That one quarter of the day was really life-giving, and it was changing. I just felt renewed. And I was able to shut off some of those thoughts about emails that I needed to send, about that conversation that I had at that conference with that one scholar, or about what this course could help me think about for that one chapter in the dissertation. And so I kept going. I started to see the value of this. So for the third year, I started to see myself not being as exhausted 6 days of the week. I didn't need to consume as much coffee either. And so I felt this momentum. And that third year, something really changed. I found myself thinking about work only half of the day. I was able to shut off my demands from work after lunch, and I was able to be really present, not just for my partner and for my family, but also for my health, my body, and my emotional well-being. I was able to go on hikes and rest with peace and tranquility, and it was just lovely. And this was important because by the time I was entering my fourth year of this challenge to incorporate rest, I was entering the sixth and final year of when I wanted and needed to focus on finishing the dissertation and being on the job market at the same time. Right, that job market year, I applied to 30 plus assistant professor jobs, 7 postdoc positions. And I'll talk about that process in a different episode. But it also just so happens that I was finishing the dissertation, being on the job market, at the same time that I became a first-time parent while living in a 500 square foot apartment in one of the most expensive areas in the country at that time, the San Francisco Bay Area. And that 24 hours of rest was crucial and vital to sustain me through what were some of the most stressful moments in my life. And completing a dissertation produces a lot of doubt and anxiety, and it's on par with producing as much or if not more stress than moving, and we all know how stressful moving can be. And so this is added to the fact that you're being on the job market as well, that is full of uncertainty. And if all of this sounds stressful, that's because it is. And so I'm glad I incorporated rest into my graduate life, because it was one of the key parts of my my research and social life that helped me make it through that final stressful leg of graduate life, when you apply for a job and say you might have 3 months to finish the dissertation because congratulations, you have a job, but now you have to finish the dissertation in no time. So now that I've talked about my rest journey and the lessons I learned through a 4-year journey to achieve a 24-hour rest, here are my recommendations for you as you start your journey, or if you need to add it to your schedule if you're already in graduate school. So my recommendation to you is to start asking yourself how you will protect your rest time for at least 3 hours this coming year. And if you meet up with friends and they unexpectedly ask about how the dissertation is going or how your research is going, you can quote this podcast and say, not to be rude, but there are no work thoughts here for the time being. There are no work thoughts here for the time being. So hiking became my go-to activity because I was able to physically get away from screens and interactions on campus that might prompt me to think about my work. but you can find any activity that works for you. This could be cooking or swimming or meditating or anything in between or beyond, just something that is constantly orientated towards helping you get away from work rather than towards it. One important part of this process is to include others and to invite friends from your department or friends in the community to be a part of your journey. They can participate in the activity, or they can just hold you accountable. You can just send a text message and say, hey, I'm shutting the phone off for 3 hours, or I'm taking 24 hours. I'll check back in. Just having that accountability is helpful, so you don't feel like you're alone in this. And because it often feels like very frustrating about rest, go ahead and share those experiences. Don't feel like you have to keep those inside. It is very frustrating, at least when you start off. So we live and work in a culture that expects constant productivity. And it makes sense that doing the opposite would be extremely hard and sometimes isolating. So go ahead and share those frustrations. Go ahead and share that, and just know that that is part of the transition. But also that we need to cultivate a culture that moves away from that. And if you love social or find yourself constantly being on various platforms, I challenge you to step away from at least 24 hours, but make an event. You can say something to the effect of, I'm doing a rest challenge, so I'll see you in 24 hours, then come back. And I would encourage you to try that for at least 2 months. Now, don't expect yourself to be consistent every 24 hours. Remember, we're trying to change our mindset. That's going to help inform our habits. So be forgiving of yourself. You're not going to do it every week, but always come back to it. Always come back to that idea that this is a journey. You're not going to get it right the first time. It's actually very hard. You're learning something new. This is not part of our culture, not part of our habits, so we're doing something that's going to require a little bit of time. And so for those of you already in graduate program, make it part of your department culture to talk about rest at your next colloquium or your next pro seminar or at your next meeting. Actually ask each other, hey, what are you doing to get rest, or what are your favorite rest strategies? And if you are a first-gen or BIPOC graduate student who can't afford to take rest because you need to work to help cover the expenses for yourself or dependents because the fellowship is not covering it, I feel you, I see you, and that is so valid. I've been there. And so find an accomplice who can sponsor your rest. Perhaps post it on social and say, hey, I'm looking for accomplices to help with my goal to rest. Anybody out there? And they can, you're looking for someone to help you through that process. Now, if you're someone in a position of privilege who can find time to rest, and you have additional finances to support someone who can't even take 3 days off, then offer to compensate them and to talk about it in your department, or to talk about it in other meetings and say, hey everyone, what are your rest strategies? I know I'm able to do this, and there might be some of you can't. I'd be happy to compensate you if you can't. Or perhaps you can say, I want to offer to pay for childcare so that you can take some time off. All of this really amounts to cultivating and transforming academia towards a rest mindset. And I believe rest should be one of the R words central to academia. That is as important as research and revise and resubmit. And as I said, this is especially important as there's a call for more BIPOC scholars in academia, and for that reason, rest should be part of justice and equity issues. And this is especially true for first-gen BIPOC scholar whose work is not just sort of on campus in the department, but for some of us, we're also doing that work in our families. We're doing that work with our friends. We're doing that work, and that's work that goes uncompensated or unrecognized, that you can't put in your yearly update, right? So that's why it's that much more important to be able to talk about rest, to recover and to thrive. So these are some of the immediate strategies that you can take to help your rest journey. So what have been some of your rest journeys, or what are some of your struggles that make it difficult to get rest? So write down in the comments below. All right, thank you for joining me in Office Hours today. I'll see you next time.
This is Office Hours with Juan Manuel, creating an academia without walls so you can thrive on your journey.